Okay, so all this pattern takes is 2 pieces of fabric in a knit fabric. I suppose you could do woven, it just wouldn't have the same, I guess, comfort, and you definitely wouldn't be able to stretch it around your head twice if you wanted to wear it wrapped. But you need 2 pieces of fabric that are 18 inches long by 54-ish inches wide. You can use your width of fabric, so if you have a little more or a little less, that works too. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I did not cut this straight on these stripes, so don't judge me for it. So just lay out one of your pieces of fabric, make it right sides up, and then we are going to fold it, what do they say, like a hot dog. So we're gonna be taking the 2 long edges and matching them together all the way along this whole long edge, and sewing this edge, these raw seams together, or raw edges together. So this whole long 54-inch edge is going to be sewn. We've got the long edge completely stitched together. You can do it with a serger, or you can do it with a stretch stitch on your regular sewing machine, however you want to do it. And then just reach your arm in and turn this whole thing right side out. And we are going to repeat that with the second fabric. So put it right side facing up, and then with right sides together, we're going to be joining these long edges. And sewing down the entire long edge. We've got this one sewn together on the long edge, and I'm just going to reach my arm inside and turn it right side out. Ba-ba-da-boo. All right, so next step is lay one of the pieces out in kind of a U shape, and then take your other piece, and lay it out in a similar fashion, just right on top. And so here's the easiest way that I've found to explain it, is you stick your arm through the bottom loop, so the bottom piece, and you grab these 2 strands and you pull them on right through. So you could end here if you wanted to, because we've just simply twisted and knotted these things together. But if you wanted to get a little more pizzazz, spread your raw ends out again of this top piece. Stick your hand back through the loop and pull it through again, and then do it on the other side. So we're calling it a braided infinity scarf, but technically it is just twisted, but it kind of gives a braided look. And then here's where you can mess with it as much as you want to kind of change up how it looks. You know, make this a little fluffier. You can make the knot wider. If you have a thicker fabric, you're definitely going to have a thicker knot. And then our last step is that we're going to put our ends together. So these 2 ends are going to meet, and these 2 ends are going to meet. One of the testers asked about this. You do end up with 2 kind of loops, but you act with them, they end up being together when you put them around you, so it's not, you're not sewing all 4 ends together, I guess. So the last thing that we're going to do is find the seam on one of the ends and find the seam on the other end, if I can get to it, and start clipping and pinning it just like you're going to be sewing it. So I just like to match this up because it's just an easy point for me to use as a reference. So we're going to put a clip here, and I will continue to clip for a while. And it's kind of going to be funny. So we have the right sides together here, and as you can tell, we can't put all of it. It's not going to be perfect when we go to do this step, but we're kind of doing a trick and including the seams in a different way than we've done before. And you'll see when we get it all together how nice and neat, this is gonna make everything for you. So we're gonna clip all the way until, we're not gonna be stretching the fabric, but just until you can't really, it gets real tight and you don't wanna clip it any further. So we have more room to go here. I'm gonna clip one more. And then when we sew it, we're just gonna be sewing along everywhere that we clipped. And you see kind of we have this weird like opening still where these two fabrics are sticking out. We're gonna eventually just pull it straight out of there. So here we are, we've got this clipped. Get this fabric out of the way so you can see it better. And we're gonna just sew all the way around this outer edge, and we're gonna leave this opening to be able to pull it through. So just stitch around this at 1/2 inch seam allowance, and I'll show you the next step. All right, we've got it sewn. Do you see we've got this kind of, it almost looks like a clamshell, right? Or a flower petal. So all you're gonna do, we left this opening here, you just pull it through. It's like magic, right? And so it's automatically going to try and tuck your seam allowances back in. But all you're going to do is just make sure they're folded in neatly and put a couple of pins on there. And then we're going to hand stitch this closed. You can machine stitch it shut if you want to. People did that often with the zipper infinity scarf. It's really up to you, but just put a stitch right here to close that opening. And I'm gonna pause on that for a second so we can get the second ends finished. So again, I like to align by the seams. And then we're going to match it up along the raw edges as much as possible until you've kind of gotten as far as you can go without stretching your fabric at all. And once you've done this once, you'll be like, oh my gosh, it's so easy to do. See, so we've got it kind of all the way clipped where there's just fabric sticking out of the middle here. And we're gonna sew with 1/2 inch seam allowance along the outside of that. We've sewn, again, along this whole outer edge. We just pull it, and then all we've got is this little opening left. And we are going to tuck our seam allowances in there. And I apologize, my dogs are in this room. And we're going to sew it up. Oop, I pinned through a second layer. We've got both ends closed off now. And all we're going to do is readjust all of our twists and all that jazz. So we match these up together and then get our knots back in order. And you have a brand new scarf. It's super easy to make. I have a feeling this is going to be a really highly used pattern from our holiday freebies this year. I'm really excited to see what everyone makes, and I hope you enjoy. Happy holidays.